It is 1943. The Allies desperately need a breakthrough in the Mediterranean, and the island of Sicily is the most obvious target for invasions. The problem is, it's obvious to everyone, including Hitler's high command. For the invasion to succeed, the Allies had to convince the Nazis they were going somewhere else entirely. They needed a lie so perfect, so detailed, that an entire army would move based on its deception. The architects of this plan were a barrister named Ewan Montague and a flight lieutenant named Charles Cholmondeley. Their idea was audacious, morbid, and utterly insane. The plot was to find a dead body, dress it in a British Royal Marines uniform, chain a briefcase filled with fake, top-secret invasion plans to its wrist, and float it off the coast of neutral Spain. The corpse had to look like a man who died in a recent, non-suspicious plane crash. A man who never existed. Major William Martin. This was Operation Mincemeat. It was a gamble that relied on the perfect forgery, the flawless performance of a dead man, and the critical flaw of one German intelligence officer. This is the story of the greatest deception triumph in World War II. The origin of this bizarre plan dates back to 1939 with a document called the Trout Memo. Its author was Admiral John Godfrey, but the concept was almost certainly conceived by his ambitious young assistant, none other than Ian Fleming. The memo outlined 50 ways to deceive the enemy. One line in particular stood out. A suggestion would be to drop a badly battered corpse into the sea, dressed as an airman, with communications in his pockets. Fast forward to 1942. The plan to invade Sicily, Operation Husky, was locked in. But every Allied commander knew a direct assault would be a bloodbath if the Germans anticipated it. The idea of the body came to life in Section 17M of the Naval Intelligence Division, headed by Commander Ewan Montague and Flight Lieutenant Charles Cholmondeley. Their goal was simple: plant a body that appeared to have died accidentally at sea, but was carrying documents that explicitly named the next invasion targets as Greece and Sardinia. The key to success wasn't the documents themselves, it was the delivery. They needed the body to wash ashore in a place where the officially neutral, yet Nazi-sympathetic Spanish authorities would find it, examine the papers, and pass them to German intelligence agents. Before they could create the perfect spy, they needed the most critical element: the body. Act 2. Creating a dead man. The first major hurdle for Montague and Cholmondeley was acquiring the corpse. They needed a body that was fresh, showed no signs of violence, and had no living next of kin. Through a friendly coroner, they found their candidate, Glyndwr Michael. Michael was a homeless Welsh labourer who had died from acute poisoning. Specifically, he had ingested rat poison, which forensic science at the time would easily mistake for internal shock consistent with drowning and days spent at sea. Michael's unfortunate life was about to become the cover story for one of the greatest military success stories of the century. Glyndwr Michael was transformed into William Martin, an honourable officer of the Royal Marines. The goal was to create not just a body, but a complete, believable human being, a man with a life, a past, and a future, interrupted by tragedy. First, the appearance had to be perfect. He was dressed in a pristine Royal Marines uniform, but attention was paid to the unglamorous details, including high-quality, fancy new underwear to suggest an upper-class background. The pocket litter was perhaps the most crucial element. This included an authentic-looking military ID card, for which they had to find a physical lookalike in London to pose for the photo. They stuffed the major's pockets with all the mundane clutter of a busy man: a receipt for an engagement ring, 2 ticket stubs from a recent West End theatre performance, an angry overdraft letter from his bank manager, and a packet of cigarettes. But the final and most heartbreaking touch was his fiancée, Pam. After holding a beauty contest among M15's female staff, a clerk named Jean Leslie was chosen to pose as Major Martin's love. They included love letters from Pam, written by a secretary on the team. These details were designed to make the whole identity seem undeniably real. No spy would fake such insignificant human details. The documents were sealed inside a briefcase, labelled personal and most secret, and the final critical step was to chain it to Major Martin's wrist. After 3 months of meticulous work, Major Martin was ready to begin his mission. Major Martin's journey began in Scotland. His body, packed in a steel canister filled with dry ice to keep it perfectly preserved, was driven hundreds of miles north from London. The destination was the submarine HMAS Seraph, waiting secretly in Holy Loch. The crew was told only that they were carrying a top-secret meteorological device. On April 19th, 1943, the Seraph began its journey, navigating the Atlantic and Mediterranean for 10 days before reaching the designated drop zone, the coast of Huelva, Spain. The location was chosen meticulously. Huelva was an officially neutral Spanish city, but the city was crawling with Nazi spies. In the dead of night on April 30th, the submarine surfaced and the canister was brought up onto the deck. The crew removed Major Martin's body from the ice, attached the chained briefcase containing the fake documents, and paid their respects to the man who was about to become a ghost. With a final, silent ceremony, Major William Martin was gently pushed into the calm Mediterranean waters. The current was set to carry him straight toward the Huelva coast. Just before dawn on May 1st, 1943, a Spanish fisherman spotted a dead man in a British uniform with a briefcase attached near the shores of Huelva, Spain. Operation Mincemeat was in motion. The local Spanish authorities took possession of the body and, crucially, the briefcase. The Spanish administration was riddled with German spies. The British ambassador to Spain, who was in on the plot, strongly suggested to the Spanish doctors that due to the heat and stench, they should call it a day. The British pressure was designed to make the investigation seem normal. The ambassador's main priority was getting the sealed briefcase back. He used all his diplomatic muscle, repeatedly and emphatically requesting its immediate return. But the Spanish authorities had already given the briefcase to the local ABWA, the German military intelligence. The documents confirmed Allied plans to invade Greece and Sardinia in July, specifically mentioning the threat to Sicily was merely a cover story. The local German intelligence officer, whose identity remains partly obscured, was convinced. He flew straight to Berlin to personally hand the information over to his superiors. The entire operation hinged on a single question. Why didn't the German officer question the validity of the information he got? The answer lies in the human element. The documents were so mundane and surrounded by the compelling story of Major Martin. His bank overdraft, his love for Pam, his theatre stubs, that the Germans believed they had intercepted a genuine battlefield tragedy. It felt too real to be a spy trick. The final, crucial confirmation came from the decryption of German communications by Ultra. A message from Hitler's headquarters was intercepted, revealing he had personally been convinced by the deception. He immediately ordered defensive troop movements to Sardinia and Greece, diverting critical forces away from the real target, Sicily. Major William Martin had done his job. The greatest deception triumph in World War II had succeeded. On July 9th, 1943, the Allied invasion of Sicily, codenamed Operation Husky, commenced. Thanks to Operation Mincemeat, the assault achieved a massive strategic surprise. German defences were scattered, having committed troops and planes to defend the fake targets of Sardinia and Greece. The success of Husky was pivotal. It led directly to the collapse of Mussolini's fascist regime and marked the turning point of the war in the Mediterranean. Major William Martin, the man who never existed, was buried with full military honours in Huelva, Spain. His headstone reads, William Martin, born 1907, died 1943, son of John Robert and the late Antonia Martin of Cardiff, Wales. For decades, The true identity of the man behind the uniform was the secret of an elite few. It wasn't until 1996 that historians officially confirmed the body was that of Glyndor Michael. Operation Mincemeat remains the greatest deception triumph in World War II. A bizarre, theatrical masterpiece that turned a dead, homeless man into the single most important secret agent of the war. In the words of one intelligence officer, it was a single act play performed for Adolf Hitler.